and good evening. Welcome to Voices Beneath the Waves. My name is Stephanie Miele, and I have the honor of interviewing Erin Quigley. Please welcome her on board.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Erin, how are you?
Good. It's good evening for you where you are. It's good afternoon where I am in LA. Nice to be here.
So, I just want to take a minute and read off a little bit of your bio and talk about your career. It's varied and phenomenal. So, before venturing underwater, you enjoyed a successful career in the arts as a resident designer for Chicago's famed Steppenwolf Theater. You earned multiple Joseph Duffus Awards and 2 Tony Awards for your work on Broadway. You later went on to design the top-rated American television sitcom Roseanne. So, in addition, concurrently with working in television and film, you became an avid underwater shooter. I wanted to just kind of start there. So, we talk a lot about nonlinear paths on this podcast. You've gone from Steppenwolf to the Roseanne show to underwater. Help me understand how that all came together.
Well, I'm only, it's been a bit of a journey, but the medium length story is I went to school for the arts and I moved to Chicago because it was a happening arts scene and not quite as giant as New York at the time. And I started out as an actress and I was working with a small production company that had a big show going on. And the costume designer for that show got mono and was taken out. And I had a little bit of costume training from college, from school, and I could draw and I knew how to sew and all that kind of stuff. So they wound up asking me if I would do the show. I did. It was History of the American Film, a Chris Durang show, by the way. The entire first act is in black and white. Everything is clothed in black and white. The sets are black and white. And then at a big number at intermission, it changes to Technicolor. So it was quite a challenge. And I got a lot of good reviews and was nominated for an award for the costume design, something I never started out doing. And then I started getting a lot of job offers from other theaters in Chicago. You want to come do our show. And to me, although I enjoyed the craft of acting, I didn't really have any other kind of attachment to it. And I liked being offered work instead of having to audition for work. And so I started doing a lot of that. And that's how I wound up at Steppenwolf. And I worked with Steppenwolf for many years, 10, almost 11 years, doing main stage stuff with them, took a bunch of shows to New York with them, have 2 Tony Award nominations based on that. And one of the people I worked with all the time there was actress Laurie Metcalf. She wound up playing, here's a bridge. She wound up playing Roseanne's sister, Jackie, on the Roseanne show. And she got me the interview with Roseanne. And eventually I worked on that show for 10 years and then worked on all kinds of other stuff. The common thing about working on television or movies or shows is that every now and then you hit a streak where you work with truly crazy people. And that's where I was. So I had to find a way. I was doing more than one show at that time. I had to find a way that I could get away because I felt like I was being lived. Like I never had any time. I wore 3 pagers. There were no cell phones back then. And so, I'd be driving through Coldwater Canyon or Laurel Canyon and one of them would go off and I'd have to stop and find a payphone and I had no life. I was completely being lived. And I grew up in Long Beach around the water and in California. And, I was a junior lifeguard and sailed and all that kind of stuff. And so scuba diving seemed like a really good way to get away from the pagers and at least temporarily the crazy people and at least be able to kind of hear my own voice while I was underwater. I found it really meditative and I don't want to get all woo-woo because I'm in California, but very healing experience. Unfortunately, I have a tiny attention span. And so the beach diving and zero viz and playing tic-tac-toe on the sand while my instructor friend did skills was not the most engaging. And I got a camera. And then at that point, everything changed because every dive was a safari. Every dive was an exploration. I was never bored. The gear kept changing.
Oh, yeah.
And I started out with film, as a matter of fact. And then right at the time when all that showbiz stuff was kind of reaching its peak, I took a year off. I did know about computer technology. I was working on like one of the first Macs when it came out. And so when film changed to digital, I knew what to do with resolution and I knew what to do with digital files. And I was already working in Photoshop from a design angle, even though I think when I first started with Photoshop, all you could do was crop and rotate. And I thought that was crazy. And so it was just kind of a natural step to move into the editing. I've had a lot of great mentors. My friend Berkeley White at Backscatter, other luminaries in the dive community have been really helpful. But he asked me, "Can't you just do this full time?" Mainly because he didn't want to, I think. Although Berkeley is actually the person that taught me how to use layers and layer masks, so I have to hand that to him. But so I eventually just kind of, I don't know what happened. I just kind of walked through that door. I never went back to television. Well, that's not true. I did one 9-week reboot of the Roseanne show before she shot herself in the foot by saying something racist and getting yanked off the air. But I did that realizing why I didn't want to do that ever again. That was, I think, 2000. It was right before COVID, I think, 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
And so that was it. It's just been like a series of doors that opened and I walked through. I'm not ambitious. I'm okay going with the flow, I guess.
That has obviously served you well. Because I was reading through the bio and I'm like, gosh, I don't know what to ask first. So I want to read a little bit more. In 2010, you created Go Ask Erin, which I'm going to ask you about, which provides instruction specifically developed for underwater photographers. And in 2020, when everything got locked down, you created workshops connecting and inspiring a huge global audience. How did that make you feel? Like, walk me through that. COVID was crazy for everybody, and there are a lot of pivots that were made. What was going through your mind? How did that come about?
Well, I had started Go Ask Erin kind of inadvertently because I was staff at a digital shootout. It was my first year doing that. And anytime anyone would ask some of the other staff anything about computers or technology, they would say, "Go ask Erin," to a comedic point where someone put a sign up above the room I was working out of. And I decided, oh, that sounds cool. I'll just get that .com, not realizing that when you name your company Go Ask Erin, you might expect to get a lot of questions. Yeah, exactly. So I had like private consulting, and I had started being staff at these events, and I had started traveling a lot, leading trips, photo kind of adventures, workshops. But when COVID hit and it locked down, I was actually in Cuba and I had to get out. But they gave us 72 hours to get out of Cuba.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, that was a whole other thing. And that was like trying to get out of Saigon. That was crazy. But when I got back, I really thought COVID was going to last like a month, 2 months at the most. And for a while, I had been entertaining this idea of doing free workshops online so that more people could kind of get quality advice on underwater editing.
Yeah.
There has been some good in the past, but not a lot. And the problem really is that there's a lot out there for Photoshop and Lightroom, all kinds of editing for topside. But it's different. The cameras aren't built to deal with the kind of UV light we get, all the techniques we use, we have to bring down artificial light with us. That throws a whole, wrench into the regular works. And I found myself working on my own images, developing specifics that were really helpful for underwater. And I thought, this is it. We got to, somehow get this out to people that don't have the money to travel with me, or don't have the money to have an expensive camera, or can't pay to take workshops. So I had been thinking about it for a long time, wanted to do these free online things where if you were there at the time, it was free. But if you wanted to watch it at another time, there'd be a small charge. So I called up my compatriots, Joel and Jen Penner, and I said, we got to do this now. This is the time. We only have a month. We got to get it out there and, get going. And so, Joel is a complete internet kind of web guru guy, and Jen is great at marketing, a really smart cookie. And so between the three of us, we got something up really fast. I think, before the kind of onslaught of Zoom seminars happened, and we were doing 3 sessions a week.
Oh, wow.
They were often a couple or a few hours long at a time. There was often drinking involved. There was definitely profanity involved. And what we would do is record them. And then if you couldn't be there to watch it, you would pay, COVID-19 dollars for the entire recorded, sweetened, chapter marked version of it. And that became kind of now our standard Go Ask Erin. We have a website that has, 50 something recorded tutorials about Lightroom and Photoshop specific for underwater. So cool. COVID was a blessing in disguise for me. I would have gone insane. But my favorite part of those sessions was always we would get on like a half an hour early for cocktail hour, no matter where you were in the world. And we had 10,000 unique viewers during the course of COVID. So we would have hundreds of people on at a time. They couldn't see each other. We didn't do that because we were worried about bandwidth, even showing just little thumbnails. So, everybody was, I'm sure, in their pajamas or God knows what. But we had this great, really unifying, soothing energy that happened with people who were all passionate about the same thing that they couldn't access. And so now it was the time. Everyone had decided they wanted to work on their shitty pictures, and they wanted to work on their shitty pictures together. So it was really great. The energy was just super. And it's been so satisfying for me because I've had so many people say that just saved me. I had, it was wow, I could learn something. I could get inspired with my own work still, even though I wasn't doing it. So we continue to do that now. We're in the process of, first time anybody's hearing it here, is we're in the process of completely redoing our most, I would say our kind of bedrock education about Lightroom and Photoshop. So much has changed since we last did it. It's almost new software in some way. So we're going to do that and really address the issues of AI, how they're changing photography, definitely how they're coming to play with our work in post.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to add, that's one question that I had jotted down, but I want to continue along. You're continuing to make the secrets of post-production easy to grasp for literally tens of thousands of divers, to your point. And the images have the potential to attract thousands more. But the important thing that I wanted to highlight is you're creating ocean stewards by doing this.
That's the whole point.
And I mean, we need that now more than ever. And to light that fire for somebody that has that artistic whim or want to do something, to give back, to explore, and then to catalog it along the way is just, it's storytelling 101, I feel like.
It is storytelling, but the thing that I've discovered over all these years of teaching is that tech, although for me it is like an awesome video game that I never want to stop playing, for a lot of people it's a barrier to creativity. So the technology and the management of the tech can get in the way of their being creative. And my goal is to remove that so that they can get to the creativity and feel good about their images. If you can come home from a trip with 10 on like just really great images that you're proud of. That's all you need. You don't need 200 images or 1,000 images. You just need one per day is kind of what I say to people. If you can have one winner per day, you're ahead of the game. Like if I get one winner per day, I'm really happy about it. And that success often relies on understanding editing, and that success inspires that person to do better and to do more and to continue, kind of lifting the underwater world into the light where everyone can see it.
It's awesome to kind of imagine that. And so the trips, are you running trips? Tell me about the trips. Tell me about your trips.
I travel. I'm gone like 7 months out of the year. I probably dive 400, 500 dives a year, something like that. The trips fall into one of three categories. One is a boot camp, which is really a boot camp where we might dive 2 dives a day and then come back, have lunch, 3 hours of training, have a cocktail hour, have dinner, and then image critique in the evening. So it is really, you're going to walk out of there knowing a lot more than you did when you came in.
Nice.
And it's my goal. I ask for everybody's goals at the beginning. You have my classes max out at 12 people, and each one of those may have a different goal, but my goal is to help each one of them meet that goal wherever they come in on a skill level, a lot of different skill levels. So that's the boot camp. And then we have one that's a workshop trip where the emphasis is on diving, but you'll have work scheduled classes that are shorter, maybe 45 minutes each. And you might have one before you dive that gives you an assignment. And then you'll have one, after lunch. And then you might have an image critique in the evening. So not nearly as heavy in terms of informational, like fire hose of information, not that, but still structured. And then I have what I would call expedition trips. And those are trips with where the emphasis is diving, often in more remote locations, and there's no structure or schedule to the education, but you're there with me often, or me and Berkeley White or Jim Decker, who's the CEO of Backscatter, or Carrie Bingham and Hergen Spallink, who are with Subculture Adventures, fantastic photographers and teachers. I've done a couple trips with Dr. Alex Mustard, that kind of thing. And also one is coming up with Margot Payton, who does Kids Camp, and another Women Divers Hall of Fame member. So they're kind of all across the board, but they fall into one of those three categories.
Where do you are there typical destinations that you focus on, or is it varied?
It is varied. So for the boot camp, it's usually Little Cayman or someplace that has a classroom, a nice air-conditioned classroom, so people aren't in hell. They're in hell anyway because it's too much information. But it's pleasant. They bring us cookies and coffee. They kind of mitigate it. And then a lot of the workshop trips are in Indonesia. We go to Galapagos. We go to Solomon Islands. I'm doing one in Fiji, Lembe, that whole area, Malaysia, so it's kind of everywhere.
Awesome. So just, I would like to know this, and maybe some of the viewership would. So if Erin goes and does a pleasure dive for Erin, what is your favorite species to photograph or to capture? Octopus. And why?
Any kind of cephalopods. Because they make contact. And they're just so unpredictable and fascinating, and to me kind of unknowable. Like to them, they're kind of aliens. Like the whole way that the organs exist in every tentacle, and that their skin changes color and texture, and the way they think, and they're to me, it's really, cephalopods are definitely a fave.
Nice. So where's your next trip? Where are you going?
My next trip is actually to Little Cayman. I'm doing a wide angle boot camp there with Jim Decker. And then after that, I'll be going to the Maldives. I go to the Maldives once a year for about 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks a year. It's one of my favorite trips. It falls into none of the other categories, actually, now that I think about it, because I go there and Jen and Joel Penner come with me typically, and I stay there for 6 weeks at this incredible resort, Six Senses Lamu, like off the hook resort. And people can come and go as they like. So it's not a, here's the first day, here's the last day.
Yeah.
We don't have structured information, but we do, if all three of us are there to answer your questions and work with you on your images. We do image critiques. If someone has a question, they have a great little theater that we do presentations in their Marine Discovery Center. Yeah, so Maldives will be after that. And then, I to be honest, it's back to Little Cayman, and then it's back to Indonesia, where I'll do a creative macro workshop with Todd Winner at Alambati Resort, and then I lose track.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot. I'm tired listening to you. Like, oh my gosh, it's a lot of travel, but it sounds just fulfilling. So the art that you create for you, where do you prefer to publish it? Do you publish it?
Well, that's a whole other thing. So it has been published, and it does get published, but I'm not in the business of publishing my images. I use my images to teach from, and I'm also an artist. I draw and paint, so I use them as the basis for that work. Yeah, I've just never really been, I think back to my not being ambitious. I've always felt like there are a lot of really talented photographers out there, and that bus is a little bit full for me where I am in my career now. I wouldn't talk people who are new to it to get it to not looking down that alley, but boy, is it fraught right now with AI and even just digital photography changed the way that we thought about professional photography, because it used to be that there was such a high level for entry to be able to publish a photo.
Oh,
you
yes.
had to be able to afford this exotic camera gear and exotic travel. And, you didn't get a feedback, and you had 36 frames with, no knowing what was being recorded on those frames. So it was a much higher skill level. And now with digital, there are so many very talented amateurs who are willing to kind of give their imagery away for bragging rights, that it really took a divot out of that underwater pro nature photography business. As a business, it's hard.
Gotcha. So talk to me. You mentioned it, AI. How, lay it on me. What are your thoughts about its entry into photos? Like right now, sometimes it's difficult for me to tell what's AI generated and what's not if I'm browsing quickly. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and it's getting better every millisecond. Those are my thoughts. So see this wave behind me? It is a tsunami wave. If you do not learn to surf that wave, it will crush you. And that is my real opinion about AI. You can dig your heels in and say, I'm not going to have anything to do with AI. Great. You're a dinosaur. Sorry. That's just the way it is.
You're right.
You may like it or not like it, but that's the reality. It's been around for a really long time. We've been using AI in Lightroom and Photoshop without calling it that necessarily for many, many, many years. But what's happened and come on the scene is the difference between the standard AI that we're used to, the machine trained AI, and the generative AI. And generative AI is something that you need the internet to use right now. So anything in Photoshop or Lightroom that makes you wait while it goes out to the internet and rapes and pillages whatever pixels it is raping and pillaging to bring back, that's generative AI. And that has changed everything, because I can work on an image. Let's say I have an image of a clownfish in an anemone, and it's okay, but the clownfish kind of isn't looking at me, and maybe there's a burned out highlight or something in front of it, or maybe I wish it was in a slightly better pose, or I wish I'd shot with my 60 instead of the 105 or whatever it is. I just type that in now.
Huh.
Literally a prompt like reimagine this image with the animal looking directly into the camera lens. Use a 105 macro instead of a 60, but keep the composition as it is. Do not change any colors. Do not change anything else. it's kind of startling what you get back. It's sharp, it's realistic. The anatomical details are there. They didn't used to be, now they are. And often it's a better picture than the one I took, but I didn't take it. I made it.
Wow.
I made it. I made it. It is my creation.
Yeah.
I made it using AI, but I did not take that photo. And I think we're getting to the point now where this is a very difficult conversation that we're going to be having in the industry, in contests, in publication, and in the goals for everybody's work. You know what?
Absolutely.
It's
Where do you draw that line?
where do you draw the line? You have to draw, in my opinion, you draw two lines. The first line is very easy. If you're playing by somebody else's rules, you're playing by somebody else's rules. So if you break those rules, you're a cheater. If you enter a contest, you better read the rules. If it says no spot removal, it means no spot removal, not one spot, not even that one over near the little edge that nobody thinks. No, I've judged enough contests to know that people either don't read the rules or willfully break the rules. And so contests, publications, any place where you're going to make money on your image, you need to be transparent about it. If you're just working as an artist for yourself, I would say the next line that you draw is a moral one for you. What do you feel like you're willing to use as your artist tools? For me, it's anything that I can figure out how to use. And that's been the way since Vermeer. You know, he used kind of a camera obscura to do Girl with a Pearl Earring. I think there was a documentary made about that. So legitimate analog studio artists with brushes and paints have been using new tools endlessly until we get to this point. And in my opinion, this is a new tool, but this tool brings with it also new risks, new questions, new dangers that we haven't faced before. Because it really changes reality in a way that's much harder to discern.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very, very interesting getting your perspective and feedback because you've seen it evolve and different iterations of this type of art and where the features are and where the tech is. It's just, it keeps multiplying and multiplying. So this is, you know, a new game to play kind of with the moral, like where are we morally and ethically with how we're shooting, how we're presenting, and what it feels like for us and our own moral compasses.
Yeah, there are the rules and then there are the damn rules. You know, I mean, it's like the rules are bendable based, as I mentioned, kind of on what you're doing, your perspective, your end use of that imagery. Personally, I believe that AI is going to create new art fields. So for instance, I mean, I've been looking at this for a long time, but when I first started looking at Midjourney, which was one of the first kind of real AI imaging systems to come to be accessible to everybody. I live with a writer. I've worked with writers. That was my job for many years. We kind of mentioned it, that I worked as a costume designer, but after Roseanne, I also worked as a production executive for 20th Century Fox and then Warner Brothers. And what I did was work with writers, basically, to create new content. And this, to me, is like a hybrid of a visual artist and a writer. If you understand how to prompt this AI and you understand visually, or you have, you know, that kind of creative vision in your head, you can write a prompt that's an entire short story and you'll get a video out of it. It's really, really amazing, but I think it's creating a whole new art field. And there are some, you know, I'm seeing some stuff out there that I love to look at and enjoy, just like regular analog art.
Wow. That's fascinating. Fascinating.
It will also take a lot of jobs away. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It's a yin yang. It's a yin yang.
That is, you're right. Yeah. I mean, we can't skirt around it. We can't just kind of will it away. It's here. We just have to realize that it is here and how to adapt to it.
You choose, you know, what you want to learn and what you can learn. A lot of people, like I was born in 58. I didn't I didn't have, we didn't have color TV when I was born. The things that have come in the technological rainbow that we've experienced since then is crazy. So people that were born without a cell phone in their hands, born without the internet, they have a much harder time wrapping their heads around this stuff. I'm lucky because I kind of did it incrementally all the way through. But if you're just getting into it now and you're in your 40s or older, it's hard. It's really hard. It's like learning a brand new language when you're much older. It's just harder than when you're a kid. So I mean, I actually think that's part of my appeal to certain people, is that I'm their age. They're not hearing it from their 18-year-old niece or nephew or son or daughter. They're hearing it from someone their own age, so they know it can be done. It can be learned and understood.
It's almost like you were speaking directly towards me, because I could not resonate with that sentiment anymore. I was born in the 70s.
Mhm.
And so I remember getting my first email. I was in college. I remember cell phones. I remember call waiting, when call waiting was
Yes.
a thing. Some of the younger viewership were probably like, what's
What?
that?
I remember analog watches, and you remember fax machines.
Yes. Yeah. And what a dial tone is. So so you're speaking directly to my generation in that comment, where there are a lot of people entering the sport of diving at varying ages.
Yep.
So say you take a 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old, 70-year-old that wants to get into diving and then really loves photography, and then combining the two. I think you just spoke to so many people because they want to take a look at it. I'm intimidated AF of taking photos underwater because I suck. So but in everything that you have said, you have made me feel so much more at ease about asking questions, because nobody wants to look stupid.
Nobody wants to look stupid, but we're at a wonderful place in history for that, because the information is all new. It's daunting. It's complicated. It's complex. It's not a stupid question, because it's just, there are no stupid questions at this point, more than any other time in the technology, because there's so much technology. I would say this to people like you who are somewhat heartened, by this conversation, is that don't feel like you have to learn all of it. Learn the 3 or 4 things that you really need to know to make your pictures look better, and do those. And then once you kind of go, oh, I can do that. I can crop and rotate. I can make it lighter and darker. I can get rid of some of that blue tone using white. Just learn those things. Shut everything else out.
Yeah.
And then you'll have a firm understanding that you can always go back to as your kind of Zen safe position on your images, but you feel free to explore from there, and you can learn a little bit at a time. And I mean, some of the AI is just so good. We just need it. I mean, we didn't talk about it. I'm sure it's in the resume somewhere, but backscatter exterminator is something that's, woo! I don't even know how I lived without it. So get that. Just a couple of things. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to take a class, even if you think you're going to be the stupidest one in the class. AI makes everyone feel stupid. Everyone. It makes you feel stupid.
It does.
Just embrace that you're not alone. Take a class, learn a few things, and count that as a victory. That you come out of the class with something more than you went in with. Anything more.
Yeah, and I just learned I can go ask Erin. So
you can go ask Erin.
I have another question. Okay, so your teaching style is known for combining deep technical knowledge with clear, thoughtful instruction. I researched that, and the well-intentioned F-bomb, which I love.
Fuck yeah.
Yes, ma'am. How did you develop that voice in the classroom, and why do you think it resonates with people? I know it's kind of a loaded question. I know I can answer that question right now, but I want to hear it from you. Why do you think you resonate with people?
Well, it's a complicated question. Part of it is because when I was learning how to do it, there was very little information out there that was specific to underwater, very little. And with few exceptions, and there were few exceptions, but with few, it was just shit. It was just doing the wrong things that destroyed. And so I learned all this stuff by making mistakes. And I really embraced the mistake making part of it. Like, to me, if I was messing it up, that was like frustrating, but it was also progress because I was going to learn something and I was never going to forget it. So I've learned over time the places that people get turned around. Yeah. There are identifiable places. And I think that approaching it from a vernacular standpoint, with regular language, kind of ties back into something that I just spoke about, was that you feel like you're talking to a peer, yes, not someone who's above you, not an academic who's, preaching down to you. I my sister, who is just, not a tech person, we got down to our own language where instead of saying move the cursor to the left, I would say, do you see that blinking stick? So we developed kind of a language that was more understandable, and you didn't have to remember a lot of terminology, and you weren't daunted by someone throwing a lot of language. I do tend to throw a lot of keyboard shortcuts at people, but they don't have to learn those. But it's good if you do. So yeah. I think that's part of it. And if people start losing track, that's when the well-intentioned F-bomb comes into play, because people wake up when they hear you start to cuss. Yes. And so that's been part of it. But I actually think it's just that more than anything else, it's kind of an egalitarian urge to make everyone feel like they can do it. Yes. I'm not better than them. Someone, there's so much out there now. Someone might come into class and say, hey, I heard of a different way to do that. I won't have heard about it. And I'm like, great. What is it? Show me. I don't hold myself above my students in any way, whether it be photographically or, in terms of digital imaging and editing. People are creative. They're smart. They want their images to look better. I always, encourage people to try and get it better in camera. It gives you better material to work with. But I will say this, I've also learned that becoming a better editor makes you a better photographer. Now you know what you want. You can use the basic information you have about photography to get it there in camera, or at least closer, So those things I think are what people resonate with in my teaching style. Yeah. And I make it really personal. I don't have any problem staying in breaks, staying late after, doing a Zoom after a workshop with someone where I can see their screen and helping them sort out. I don't have any problem with that. So my goal is to make every single individual person that I'm teaching get something out of it wherever they come in. And I think that does resonate with people.
1,000%. And that was going to be, you said it much more eloquently than I could have, but you're approachable. You could have a massive ego because of everything that you have done, but the way that we spoke pre-show and now, in listening to you, your humbleness, your tone, the way your intent is evident, and it's, I've got to say, superb. And
now you're embarrassing me. Don't make me cry.
I'm not going to make you cry. I was just going to, when I meet you in person, we're going to have some drinks and just throw all the F-bombs. But we have there are a couple of comments. One is Bonnie Toth, who is, by the way, going to be my December interview. So just put
fantastic.
That out there. Bonnie said that you are super laid back, easygoing, and we're going to share it right now, and so relatable. You could listen to her all day, and she's dead on. So I am so
thank you, Bonnie.
I'm so happy that you agreed to do this interview. And I never look at my phone during the interviews, but I'm reading a book, and during
the interview, you're reading a book?
Not during the interview, but there's there was a saying that I really liked, and I want to read it because it's very serendipitous based on this conversation. Ego says, I already know. Mastery says, teach me more. Learning requires humility and self-awareness, and feedback is fuel and not an insult. So anybody learning a new skill, it's making yourself available to absorbing the information is just, it requires being humble and accepting, because not everybody is a master at everything.
No, and if you think you've mastered it, what's the point? I mean, if you think you've got it all figured out, why go on? It's one of those things, is like, for me, I just do a little list of 5 things I'm grateful for every morning to get out of my weird waking up head where I'm imagining arguments I had with somebody that I didn't have with somebody, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so I'll try and think of 5 things I'm grateful for, and that gratitude is about the possibility of learning something new or fixing something that I'm doing wrong, whether I know it or not. So if you kind of come from that place, I think you recognize the need for it in others, like how much better people do when they know that their mistakes are going to be embraced. Yes. And then it's not just they're going to be blamed for it. No, it's going to be, listen, I'm blunt. I tell people, take that picture again. We're not even going to work on it. I am very blunt with my classes. And so, somebody sent me what was it? Like a thermos or something, and it had 2 cups on it. And one of the cup was inscribed with the word feared, and the other cup was inscribed with the word adored. And I think that's kind of what I go for, is I want to be approachable. I want to be funny. I want to be warm, but I also want to lay down the law and look, you can't keep doing it this way. You're not growing. You're not embracing your mistakes. You're making the same mistake over and over and over and over again because you're lazy. That's different. I'm happy to say that too, because I know it when I'm doing it. Again,
it's a life lesson. That applies to everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Cool. And that was going to lead into my next question. The Women Drivers Hall of Fame, we do a mentor panel usually in April, and it's varying topics, but as somebody that has mentored people, what advice, is there any advice that is there a go-to thing that you think of when you're sharing, feedback?
So in photography, and especially natural history photography, I would say get a niche. Find a niche. This is just something that served me well my entire life through all those various careers, right? But there are a lot of people taking pictures. There are a lot of people taking good pictures. Find a niche. Be well known for something you do extraordinarily well. Or like me, teaching is what I do better than taking photos. I'm a good photographer, but that's not the thing that sets me apart. I have something more to offer than being a good photographer and understanding the wildlife and how to get a good shot and all that. I have something more to offer, and it can lift other people. Find a niche. And not only will you probably be more successful, but it will be more gratifying to you because it's so much more personal, and you're not trying to always, keep up with the bus full of people who are doing the exact same thing that you are. So when I have mentored people in the past, that's like my primary advice to them. It's non-specific to their work at the time.
Yeah.
But maybe it would be like concentrate on one ecosystem, or concentrate on one animal, or tell a story that connects, that resonates. Don't just come back with 2,000 pictures of penguins. Come back with 2 pictures that make people, wow,
yeah,
that's so much better. So the niche, that angle, I think, is a really important one to consider.
That's a great piece of advice. Okay, so last question. Is there, and this is kind of a weird question, is there a question that you wish more people would ask you? Because I know we have the Go Ask Erin, but is there a question that you wish people would ask, but they tend not to? Is there anything?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I don't know. I think, let me think for a minute here. I guess I wish people would just ask me, not about me, but about the thing that they feel most vulnerable about. You know, I think people protect themselves when they ask questions.
Oh, yeah.
And I really wish people would just cut to the chase a lot of the time. And just, you know, even if it's about me personally, that's me. I function better if someone's just really direct. You know, I had an incident, and this is personal. This has nothing to do with anything, but I know some people in my world know each other, and we travel together on and off, and they'll meet and say, "Oh, do you know Erin? Oh, yes, I know Erin," this, that, and the other thing. And one person came up to me and said, "Do you know that this other couple said they've known you through all of your many weight losses and gains?" And it really stopped me because, yeah, I've struggled with my weight my whole life, but I had never thought of myself as going through that kind of trackable thing, or that anybody would ever say that as a way into knowing me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wish they would ask me, like those people, I wish they had asked me, "Gosh, you lost a lot of weight. Are you okay?" Or, "Hey, are you okay? You know, looks like you're slowing down a little bit." Whatever. I actually wish that instead of always trying to hide their own vulnerabilities with this stuff, they would just be more out.
Huh. That's really cool. Very neat. I learned so much about you. It's it's awesome.
Oh, we didn't even get to Backscatter Exterminator.
I know.
Well,
let's finish
AI.
with that.
That's for another time.
Are you sure? Do you want to finish with that though?
Oh, I can do that because it kind of ties everything up.
Yes.
Which is that things that help us come from different worlds.
Yeah.
I would never have imagined that the thing I was searching my whole underwater career to do, find a way to get rid of fucking backscatter, would come from astrophotography. But that's astrophotography, because an engineer, astrophotographer, this AI engineer guru guy, Russell Croman, had developed a piece of software called Star Exterminator. A friend of mine, a diver and an astrophotographer, thought, wow, you know, those stars that are in front of deep space photography, like of nebula, like Hubble telescope photography, that looks a lot like backscatter in a different environment. And so he was using Star Exterminator, and he hipped me to it. And we went to Russell Croman, the creator of that, and said, "Hey, we just rebrand this for underwater? It's pretty cool." Yeah. And because he's an engineer and a perfectionist and a smart guy, but not a diver, not an underwater photographer, he said, "I don't want to do it. Unless it's specific to, I don't want it to be half-assed. This is for stars, blah, 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 blah." So basically, I twisted his arm over a period of time until he finally agreed to do it. It took us 2 years to develop. But Backscatter Exterminator is something that does what I have dreamed my whole underwater career to do, which is with literally one click, backscatter is gone and leaves no trace. Wow. So I can get rid of backscatter a million different ways in Photoshop and blah, 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 but it always leaves a trace. It never does a good job. And this is not generative AI. It is only trained on my pictures, Joel and Jen's pictures, and my friend Bruce Warner's pictures. That's it. So it is trained on just our library of photos, probably millions of iterations of running it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even replace pixels in your image. It isolates what's called the I think it's called light flux. It's like a reflection from the particulate in the water, and then it diminishes it. So the grain of the image stays exactly the same. Exactly the same. And,
Wow.
the software itself comes with a little opacity slider, so you can dial it in and out if you don't want it all gone. If it removes too much, there's a way you can put back in the original really easily. Anyway, the takeaway here is it's a tool every underwater editor should have for sure, but it came from a completely different world. And so I think that that's like a key to everything I do, is keep your peripheral vision open. We're all connected. All kinds of things are connected into what we do. And, I think that that's something that inspires me and continues to drive me forward with my work.
That is a phenomenal end point. And, to the connection, we discovered pre-show that we were both born in Providence, Rhode Island. So go Rhody.
In the same hospital.
In the same hospital.
Whatever.
What are the chances? I don't know. I mean,
That's
it's meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Well, thank you, Erin, for taking the time.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, this was fun. And I can't wait to meet in person and have several drinks. But
be careful. I'm Irish.
Yes, well, I'll talk like this and we'll have a lot of drinks.
I'll talk like this.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you. And it was a pleasure.
My pleasure too.
So thank you again, everybody, for viewing. I'm excited to host Lynn Funkhauser in March. And we are, just a reminder, the Women's Divers Hall of Fame is a nonprofit. And we are raising money for scholarships and grants that can be applied for starting towards the back end of the year. And as just a small note, we have surpassed $1 million in those scholarships and grant opportunities to promote learning and education. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you again and have a good evening.